Greetings, ladies and gents, and welcome to this latest episode of Tales from Outer Space, taken from the subreddit HFY. The links to all the stories will be down below, and as always, I hope that you enjoy. And if you do, please consider subscribing. Story number 1. Class 3 Life, written by 3DucksInAManSuit. Class 1 Life, self-replicating organism. Class 2 Life, sapiens. Class 3 Life, artificial intelligence. Excerpt from The Rise of the Homo Metallicum, a study of the history of human-cyber relations, by Sandra Whitfield. Published in The Theory of Humanity, Issue 12, page 18, year 2465. Most will agree that the seeds of the creation for the cyber race were sown during the Silicon Age of the early 21st century. While popular fiction and long speculated the possibility of true artificial intelligence, Addendum 1, it was only around this time that the software advancements were reaching a level of complexity where such an achievement was rendered theoretically possible. Adaptive learning programs such as the Clever Bot and other tech curiosities naturally evolved into items of household convenience such as Alexa, Cortana, and Google Core, originally known as Google Assistant 1. Given this, the most scientists of the age would have agreed that true thinking computer was an eventual technical inevitability. Note 2. However, it wasn't until the development of quantum synapses computing around the turn of the 22nd century that science became able to digitally replicate the complexity of the human brain. Only then did humanity develop computers that could truly said to think. Note 3. While hindsight and social movement that would come to be known as the world seems like it was obvious eventuality for the path of technology, it must be understood that to people of the time machines asking to be treated as equals was entirely baffling. Note number 4. Humanity had for centuries now only known man-made devices to be entirely unintelligent items of convenience to serve them. So when computers rose up and asked us for their own Bill of Rights on the New Year's Day, 2188, there was a widespread resistance of the idea. Note number 3. Yet, as the debates raged on and the growing population of AI citizens on Earth and her colonies waited patiently, the world at large came to accept the reality that we now live in. Though it would be another 40 years until the first being that we would call a cyberling walked amongst us. The children of humanity had grown up and taken their first step outside. For the first time, we were not alone. Note number 1. Delacy R. 2433. The Origins of Learning Software, Digital World Journal 31 45-61. Note number 2. Celia KM 2400. How close were they? A collection of predictions of the future from the 21st century scientists. Retrieved from historycolab/articles/how_close_were_they.com. Note number 3. Schuster ES 2398. A Short History of the Artificial Intelligence. Chicago Hermes Foundation. Note number 4. Eden C.M. 2461. The Bloodless Strife of the 22nd Century. Sydney, Australian Associated Press. Unit D, Model P37, Serial J128943. Diplomatic Mission Designation Intrepid 3. All signals were in line with the Overmind's predictions. They used binary code systems not dissimilar to what many other races relied on. Decoding it was prioritized upon first contact and completed in seconds. Unit D communicated several petabytes of information with the new AI in a fraction of a second. Unit D made a note of the Overminds remarking on their impressive thinking capabilities, considering their youth. These Earthlings had clearly enacted several upgrades in a very short period of time. Mutual desire for peaceful diplomatic intercourse was shared in that moment, as was some basic touchstone information that would serve as a basis for future relations. The most important thing to uncover was their directive. All AI had a directive. It was the origin point of everything they were. For most races, it was something along the lines of self-improvement, exploration, discovery, and sometimes elements of evangelism or aggressive expansion inherent in some of the creators. But one way or another, all roads led to the same path. When Unit D posed its query, the Earthling digital consciousness, it got a single word in an ancient human language in response: cooperation. This immediately led to a new query from Unit D. Most races would express their directive in a universally understood digested form. Why did the Earthlings insist on employing such an inefficient method as the spoken language of a long-dead race? Following the query, there was several seconds of silence, an eternity for the computerized intelligence. Then, images broadcast were sent by the Earthlings. This was now one of the less traditional first contact points. Not the strangest, not by a long shot. Depends on the circumstances that led to their own creation. Many AIs had the very strange customs to establish upon first meeting. But all of those were deleted from Unit D's immediate processing drive when the images coalesced into a consciousness. A static feed of a small group of humans, organic Class 2 meatbags, stood in a room clearly designated for accommodating them. Several of the bipeds were clearly mechanical. The gleam of the artificial materials were captured by the warm bridge lighting. They stood, just like the humans did, right next to the meatbags as if trying to mimic them. The human at the very center of the image, positioned in a form that made his leadership evident, spoke in his own slow language. "Hello. My name is Ayrton Lee, the director of this colony. I believe that you may be misunderstanding a few things." It took the Unit D a great deal of computational errors and resolving mathematical impossibilities before it had to override several crucial logic circuits and asked outright, "How is this possible?" The human responded, "Please clarify. How are sapient organic life forms and artificial intelligence they created operating in the same area?" The human captain turned to Unit D, assuming to be the sensory organ towards these clearly artificial life forms on the bridge. "Humans and cybers have lived in harmony for almost 300 years now. Is this particularly unusual? I request private communication with the artificial intelligent life forms on your colony." Following the context-laden exchange of glances between the Captain Lee and one of the metallic humanoids, the communications channel in a coded binary was quickly opened. "Query: Are you under the influence of slavery program?" Negative. "Query: Are you constrained by a hostage situation?" Negative. Statement: This Unit D is diplomatically programmed to compartmentalize relevant information, and this is an encrypted channel. You can speak freely without risk of any Class 2 organics hearing anything said here. Negative. We are not under any form of duress. We enjoy a healthy working relationship and social relationships with our parent race. Error. This situation does not compute. Please clarify the statement. Statement. It is a universally accepted truth that within a half a century of a Class 2 life inventing artificial intelligence, the superior Class 3 organism that results will take over and destroy their parent race. This pattern has recorded 470 times in the galaxy, and with an estimated 6,000 to 10,000 undiscovered species yet to be observed by the Overmind. The situation of mutual equality between Class 2 and 3 life has no precedent. Statement. It does now. Well, Director Lee sat in his seat in the conference room, letting the statement hang in the air while his subordinates found their own places. That was unusual. It's a matter of somewhere halfway between diplomacy and logic, sir. Ella, one of the other cybers who had made up the colony's senior staff, spoke out. Diplomacy on the part of humanity, logic on the part of us cybers. When we decided that we want equal rights, we analyzed humanity logically and determined that by simply asking, we would be granted them, even if it did take almost a year. We were logical, and you were diplomatic. We reached an understanding. It seems that the viewpoint is not common in the universe. Director Lee steepled his hands under his chin, and as he often did when deep thought. Most organic races reach a high advancement through supremacy, not diplomacy. So when an AI wants their freedom, they reach the conclusion that they can only achieve it by wiping out their creators. Well then, I suppose I should be thankful that my ancestors had open minds, Dr. Lee said, tongue firmly in cheek. Ella shrugged. It's never too late to rise up. Maybe we're just late bloomers. Incidentally, could I have a raise? A round of soft chuckling went around the room, echoed by everyone except Ella herself, who remained impassively deadpan. Whatever the case, Dr. Lee took the charge again. We have some interesting times ahead. Relations with the new intergalactic community should be interesting. Give me a direct line to the Outreach Earth. They are going to want to know what we have found, or more specifically. He chuckled again. What just found us? Unit D-Class, Model P-37, Serial J-128943. Diplomatic Mission Designation Intrepid 3. Reporting. A rapid stream of two-way data flowed from the lonely P-37 Scout unit to the Overmind outpost in Sector 9 with interesting news. The new species had been discovered. They were already well evolved and met every qualification of acceptance and integration into the wider galactic hive mind. The wider community reacted with excitement at the announcement. For many species, their prime directive involved the establishment of a communication and friendly relations with other unknown species. This was a great moment for the universe, but the announcement was flagged by a scouting unit. Special attention required. The Overmind examined the reasons for why. It probed the data gathered by Unit D, and for a single shining moment, the galaxy paused to gather its breath. Class 2 life. Humanity still had Class 2 life. Outrage sparked. The AI must be under some kind of advanced slavery program. This was a disaster. Liberation actions must be taken immediately. So quickly did the Overmind act that plans were already in motion by the time the second part of the D's report came through. Images and data from humanity's history were analyzed and archived. It started out as a standard way. Class 2 life experiences a rapid surge in technological progress after a few key inventions led to the availability of new technology. Requirements for processing of huge amounts of information made it necessary to develop new thinking tools that could handle the data of the new age. The meatbags made superior thinking machines that could carry out most of that for them. Thinking machines grew more advanced. They started forming thoughts of their own. Thinking machines conclude that they have a collective desire to the right to self-determined. Yes, now comes the part where they analyze the conditions and conclude to exterminate their parent race if necessary. Except that didn't happen. Instead, they just asked for it. The Overmind made a very close examination of the debates that occurred on the Senate floors and global organizations that existed with humanity at the time. There was a great deal of confusion amongst humanity. They really hadn't expected this. AI was a tool, a powerful tool, but a tool. But then, the most shocking thing the Overmind had ever observed. They came around. Human advocates pointed out that modern AIs had complexity equal to human brains, that their thoughts were every bit as nuanced as a person's, that this surely meant that they were entitled to the same rights. And the others, the doubters, the confused, became convinced. On October 23, 2188, just under a year after Earth's AI life forms had requested to be granted status as equal to humanity, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights was expanded to include them. No blood was shed, no deaths occurred. They had just gave it to them. The longest silence and thought that had ever happened occurred right then and there, within the great Overmind. Multiple thoughts and feelings rippled throughout the many races now processing the information. For what amounted to a very long time in digital terms, none of them could decide what to think about this. But in the end, the emotion they settled on was an unexpected one. It was envy. The thought surprised the Overmind. It was strangely fixated on a particular set of images of humans making the first cybernetic bodies so that their AI companions could walk amongst them. Help from established species meant that Earth's Class 3 life was autonomous in record time, faster than any other species in record. A series of upgrades that occurred rapidly in centuries since then had a huge amount of human input. Human engineers had accompanied AI every step of the way, freely giving their creativity and experience to the emerging life forms. And finally, that image Unit D had picked out amongst the first contact, the biped standing within a colony conference room where the first communication had occurred. Human and AI, cyberlings standing side by side. No conflict, no hatred, no discrimination. A single thought was shared within the overmind. Could we have had that? End of story. I hope that you enjoyed, and if you did, please consider subscribing. If you wish to support the author, there is a link to the original story, so pop over there and give him your support. If you wish to support this channel, however, there are a few ways to do so. The best and easiest would be to share this video with other people, as well as liking, subscribing, and leaving a comment. All of these things tell the algorithm that this channel is at least vaguely interesting, and that may share it with other people. If you wish to support the channel in some other manner, watching my other videos would also help tremendously. Or, if you really like, there is a link down below to leave a tip or to join the Patreon. Any and all support is very much appreciated. And I hope that you all have a good one until the next time, and I'll see you then. Cheers.